the front pages. In the next half hour, then, we'll see what's making the headlines with the barrister and former government minister Anna Soubry and the political journalist Zoe Grünewald. Welcome and lovely to see you both. So, as ever, let's take a look at the front pages, beginning with the California wildfires and lawless with the L&A. Highlighted, as you can see, is how the Metro describes the situation in Los Angeles with looting, the rich and famous able to hire private firefighters, but the poor struggling for even the basics. The stabbing of a nurse on duty in casualty at Royal Oldham Hospital is top story for The Mirror. While the Daily Mail counts up the current pressure on hospitals with 500,000 patients waiting 12 hours on trolleys to be treated. Daily Express turns its fire on Labour in an interview with senior Tory James Cleverly, accusing them of being inept and launching a tax assault on families and businesses. Meanwhile, The Telegraph says Treasury officials have told ministers they need to be ruthless in drawing up public spending cuts to reboot the economic recovery. But despite fears of the possible effects, The Guardian says Keir Starmer is to announce a massive hike in the use of artificial intelligence in everything from schools to mending potholes. The Times leads with a warning from a former MI6 chief that Labour's push towards net zero on emissions will, in his words, hand power to Beijing. The Eye has been investigating the online dating app Grindr and, in an exclusive report, says it's been linked to dozens of child abuse cases, including 4 young boys who were raped by men they met through the site. The FT leading with the decision to pull fact-checking from Mark Zuckerberg's Meta social media platforms, which has raised fears among advertisers that it will cause a surge in harmful content. And finally, The Star claims that Jeremy Clarkson wants Donald Trump to buy Britain after the president-elect said he'd like to buy Greenland. Don't forget, scan the QR code that you'll see on screen during the programme. You can check out those front pages while you listen to our guests. So let's head to Anna and Zoe. Great, what a right mixture there is. But you want to kick off, Anna, with the fires in the Metro and some of the implications of this, including those who've started looting, some even trying to dress up as firefighters in so doing.
Yes, and the other thing that the Metro is reporting on is the fact that, obviously, if you're very wealthy and you live in America, according to the Metro, I'm sure it's accurate, you've got people with shed loads of money paying up to £2,000 an hour for private firefighters. And then there's, within this report, I think it's the Kardashians that they're particularly, and Sylvester Stallone, because what they've been able to do, because water is so short in LA, in any event, then obviously you have quite punitive measures and costings to reduce the amount of water that people use. But these people are so wealthy, they will use it for their sprinklers and all the other things that, frankly, you don't need when you've got shortages of water, and because they can pay the fines for it. So there's all of that happening at the same time, of course, that we're all standing by again for the winds to pick up and the devastation to continue.
And the winds are picking up. A red flag warning back again, it says. 50-mile-an-hour winds, gusts in mountains reaching 70 miles an hour. It's a red flag warning, which is what caused the problem, you know, at the start of last week. And this is the coast. The wind is also changing direction. And the fear is that if there are any embers burning in some of these destroyed buildings, it flips again. And that is where the concerns lie.
Nothing there, is there?
Nothing there. And these are, you know, the most exclusive dwellings, partly, you know, in this part of America, right on the waterfront. You know, celebrity or not, you know, the indiscriminate effect. Yeah,
I mean, 150,000 people are homeless, and as you say, this isn't over yet. You know, we're likely to see more devastation, and it's impossible to contain it. You know, when you've got the elements against you, it's extraordinary. I think Anna's absolutely right to highlight that what this has revealed is that these huge inequalities that exist in American society and in a lot of, you know, Western countries, and how environmental disasters really reveal these. If you're very, very wealthy, you can pay to have private firefighters. You can take the fines and use as much water as you like because the money doesn't impact you. If you are somebody who, you know, lives a normal life and loses your house, you won't have any of those benefits. And, you know, some people will be able to save themselves from this purely through having money and power. Others will be more vulnerable. And we're not, you know, this is something we're going to see more and more of. It used to be that there were certain times of the year that these fires existed in the US.
Yeah.
Now it seems they're happening more and more. And I just think, you know, who knows what this week will bring. Everybody's thinking about the people in LA. It's one of the worst, you know, they're calling it one of the worst disasters in American history, natural disasters.
Yeah, well, I think firefighting of any ilk, private or otherwise, would not have stopped.
No.
You know, what we've seen here, the winds made it, you know, they called it an unstoppable fire. And the problem is it's still unstoppable. The Palisades fire is still only 11% contained.
Yes, and everybody has to wake up wherever you live in the world. If you live in a part of the world where there's a shortage of water, why do you have sprinklers to grow grass? Which is not a natural thing that will grow in an area which is basically either a desert or semi-desert, which is what LA is, because they have a profound shortage of rain. And so getting our priorities right and sorted and understanding climate change and the impact it has on all of us and how we all have to change the way that we live and get our priorities sorted.
Yeah. Well, 16 people confirmed dead so far, 12,000 dwellings, you know, as we saw, completely destroyed, and more people missing, and certainly the governor and the county sheriff talking about deaths likely to rise. The, you know, cadaver dogs, you know, the dogs that could sniff remains are beginning to be deployed in areas where there are no embers burning. And certainly I think the latest figure I saw was that 12 people are missing within the Eaton fire zone and 4 from the Palisades area. So, you know, this is the concern. I think they're setting up data banks where you can list people who are missing, and also another data bank, you know, where you can assess whether your house has been destroyed because you're not allowed back because of the fear of looting, which is what this is all about. So, you know, all about, you know, trying to get people the information they need while not letting them back into the to the areas which have been utterly, as we saw there, destroyed. Let's move on, shall we, to The Guardian. This is about AI, the full force of government being put behind this, Zoe. So what's the what exactly are they targeting here?
So Keir Starmer's set to give a speech where he wants to talk about his government's plan to unleash AI. He says mainlining it into the veins of the nation. And this includes everything from artificial intelligence that can spot potholes, to freeing up teachers, to use of data to push forward progress in the health service. Clearly, the government see this as an opportunity to inject some money into the economy. So they're talking about 14 billion already invested by 3 firms. And I think it is an attempt by Labour to kind of move the dial on, to show that they are doing something, that they have a plan for growth, that they want to harness these technologies. But I think, you know, there are still fears around this. And I think one thing that Labour will particularly struggle with is when it's talking about savings made from artificial intelligence, it will have to defend whether that actually means things like job losses. And then it will have to defend itself to the unions. And we know this is a back and forth that Labour have to deal with a lot. There's also, you know, wonders about how safe this technology is if you're opening up vast quantities of data, you know, how the privacy of people is protected, how the security
Which has always
of
been
that
a
data.
concern about health, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Genuinely for people.
And, you know, there's a barrister cited in The Guardian's reporting of this who cites the post office scandal. She says it's a reminder of the dangers of putting too much faith in technology without the resources for effective accountability.
And this feels like the sort of the culmination of one of the many reviews that this government has launched. The plan that we'll find out on Monday will take forward all 50 recommendations made by tech entrepreneur Matt Clifford, who was commissioned by the Science Secretary Peter Kyle back in July to come up with a plan to identify AI opportunities. So you'll have AI growth zones, starting in Oxfordshire, where it will accelerate planning approvals for data centres and improve access to the energy grid. The intention, I read on Foreign Wires as well, actually, that they'll have zones for data centres and encouraging more graduates to study technology-focused courses. So presumably the idea is to become a world leader in AI. I fear... Well, we looked at California there. You know, I fear Silicon Valley is well beating us already on this, isn't it?
No, I think one of the things that is interesting, and if you look at this Guardian story, it says that, obviously this is based on research somewhere, that the 3 words most associated with AI are robot, scary and worried. And I was reminded, because obviously I'm old enough to remember when he gave his speech, but Harold Wilson back in '63, for some reason Zoe knows this, she's brilliant, but anyway. But in '63, right, Wilson, who was the Labour Prime Minister, gave this big speech about the white heat of technology, and this was going to reset the dial, which is kind of along these lines. Actually, Wilson's speech was really a political speech to have an impact within the Labour Party. I won't bore you with it all, but it didn't actually produce anything, really, at the end of it all. And that's the fear that this is all a bit grandstanding. Personally, I think it would be great if our country could lead the way with some of this and get rid of our own... I mean, I know I get fearful about AI for all the reasons that you've identified and others know.
Yeah.
But it could be exciting.
Yes, well, let's look at the Times very quickly as well. Ministers are preparing to open up the UK's vast store of NHS health data to big tech companies in an effort to put the country at the heart of the global AI revolution. I'm going to jump ahead, actually, to the FT, if you don't mind. Just on data, Meta's retreat on fact-checking triggers advertisers' fears of toxic content surge. I mean, everyone's expressed concern about this, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so this is particularly advertisers who are worried that this surge in what they say is toxic content as a result of Meta removing its fact-checking software will, will make them nervous. It will change the way people seek information, and it might, they might vote with their feet on this. Will people want to consume things that are marketed on Meta if they see it as a site that spews toxicity? But then there's also other people who say, actually, all advertisers care about is if the platform performs. And, also there is this feeling from Zuckerberg that actually the way the wind is blowing when it comes to the US and regulation is far more the kind of Elon Musk school of thought.
Yeah, very quick.
You just have to make all of these platforms, all social media, have exactly the same responsibilities as every single one of the newspapers that we are reviewing, and indeed that you, as a broadcaster, the rules that you have to live by should be exactly the same for them because you're a publisher. And defamation and libel and all these things should be within the remits of how we properly control these social media platforms.
It feels like that battle has been lost, though, doesn't it?
If they live by those rules, it's because we've all backed off from it and we've bought all this nonsense about you can't do it. You can do it. They should be regulated properly, just like Sky and everybody else's. And that's the way that we get rid of this, because the toxicity will definitely, which you see on Twitter, will definitely get into Facebook and all the other things Meta have. OK,
we've got loads to talk about, so we'll head to the break and come back with more, including the front of the Times, Tulip Sadiq's leaflets found at the palace of the ousted leader who was her aunt. Back in a moment.
Migrants risk their lives climbing aboard these trains in search of a dream, the United States.
It's really dangerous. They often get robbed on this train.
They suffer a lot, by police, cartels.
What happens to them next, we just don't know. Do you miss your mum?
With Trump coming to the presidency, how much longer will people be accommodated?
The journey you've been through, it's been very difficult at times. Has it been worth it?
See.
This is a journey which goes by one name, the Beast.
It's like a football final with only one team on the pitch. This isn't just a call to vote, but a call to remember. The freedom fought for by the African National Congress.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
A cyclone and 2 burst dams wiped out hundreds of generational homes.
This was the second dam that the floodwaters hit before it tore into Derna. We are in the heart of Nairobi, and we're watching as protesters were heavily tear gassed.
The sheer fearlessness and persistence of these guys is astonishing.
We help you understand the world with us. I remember going into the iconic Omdurman market in the heart of Sudan's capital for the first time since the war started. And this is what's left of it. Bullet holes through buildings, shelled balconies, bullet cases on the floor. I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories and the lives of millions of people. This is insane. This was a bustling residential area. So many friends who lived here. My most memorable interview was with a 15-year-old boy who'd survived being stranded on a migrant boat on its way from Senegal to the Canary Islands.
After 13 days, our food, water and fuel supply ran out.
I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
They call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News. Get the full story first. Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky News.
Weeknights on Sky News.
This is your chance. Tell people.
Welcome to the Politics Hub.
Our police force has apologised. If you want to find out about Grimsby, you come to the docks.
I'm live in Jerusalem.
Are you not concerned that that could lead to all-out war?
Hello there, good evening. There are fears of an upsurge in violence. What's at stake here?
You are watching the press preview, a first look at the front pages as they arrive.
I'm James Matthews and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump, it would appear, is about to learn his fate. There's no doubting the strength of this hurricane as it roars through. Sky News, get the full story first. Do you fear a fourth indictment?
He's from Sky News. He's from Sky News. He's entitled to ask me questions.
Well, let's talk about the newspapers once again. Anna Soubry and Zoe Grünewald are with me once again. Daily Telegraph. This is about what the Chancellor will do to stabilise markets because the cost of borrowing for the government over 10 years has become extremely high. And the suggestion here is that it will be cuts to government departments, Anna.
You see, this is where now things are going to get very difficult for this Labour government because they've made this commitment they're not going to put up taxes for what are called working people, in other words, income tax and NICs. So what are they going to do? Because we are in a mess. And so they are now looking at, because of the markets not... But I think some of this market stuff has been exaggerated, but even... Moving on from that,
it's the highest borrowing cost for the government since 2008, which was the midst of the financial crisis. So that is serious.
The squeeze is on. And Labour's big mistake was that when the last Conservative government cut national insurance, which didn't really affect most people because it was such a small cut, but it had a huge impact on this deficit in spending. But the mistake Labour made was instead they should have said, we will not honour that cut. That was a huge mistake. So anyway, they are where they are. We are where we are. And that's why Labour's always talked about this being a 10-year project. But having to cut budgets even more than they are, when it's almost universally accepted that all our public services are hugely underfunded.
And when your fundamental message, amidst your milestones and your missions, is to fix the foundations, there's no money to fix the foundations.
But I think people get that. It's just that it's going to be very difficult because, obviously, we still work on short term because we have elections, obviously, in 5 years' time. And Labour's trick is going to keep people with it and keep them on that course and say things will get better. This is the way to make them better.
And elsewhere within the Labour government and its difficulties, City Minister Tulip Siddiq, The Times is still finding out more information about what to do about the anti-corruption minister.
Yeah, so this is a story Labour definitely will not want to be consuming the media this week. So despite Tulip Siddiq always saying, and she is, as you say, the anti-corruption minister, always saying that she didn't speak about politics with her aunt, who was the recently deposed former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Labour Party posters and flyers produced by Tulip Siddiq have been found in the ruins of her aunt's official residence, amongst shopping bags full of luxury goods from Chanel and Swarovski. You know, the optics of this are terrible. You know, she is the anti-corruption minister. She is linked to this regime. You know, there are questions about the housing that she has lived in and how that has been linked to this regime as well. And although she is now being investigated by the Prime Minister's advisor on ministerial interests, and that investigation needs to conclude, I would be surprised if they allow this to go on and continue to be on the front page of the Times. They want to talk about AI, they want to move attention away from the budget. The last thing they need is their anti-corruption minister being involved in this.
OK, got 30 seconds left. I'm going to rattle 3 stories because I feel they're slightly connected. One is that young people are shunning democracy. 1/5 of young would prefer an autocratic leader. Extraordinary. 2, Trump rouses Greenlanders, which is that story. And then the Star, which I don't have in front of me, want to buy Britain as an alternative. There we go. Anna,
well, I mean,
20 seconds.
I just love the Star. Oh, I always love the Star, apart from when it goes too far. But, I mean, yeah, the Greenland thing, it's just Trump talking, isn't it? You know, we'll have to see what comes of it.
Yeah, I like they call him Creepy Jess Clarkson.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Both of you, thank you very much indeed. See you for more, obviously, at 11:30 for now. Thank you. Lots more coming up in the next part of our programme. We'll have the latest from Los Angeles. Rising winds, the winds returning, once again threatening to jeopardise those attempts to put out the wildfires raging still in the area. Still, the Palisades fire only 11% contained. Back with that in just a moment.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little bit.